Welcome back to Yankee Chronicle. I'm your host, Abby Peel, and we're coming to you from the Preferred Building Systems here in Claremont. Joining me now is Luke Laplume, who's the design manager here at Preferred Building Systems. Nice to meet you, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks.
So first talk about your position, your history. How did you get into this position of being the design manager?
Well, I grew up in the trades doing construction, and then I went to school at Keene State College down in Keene, and for architecture. So I got a Bachelor's of Science in Architecture, and then I went back into the trades for a while, and I started putting some applications out there, and we had known about Preferred Building Systems. They actually, Peter Temple, the president of the architecture department, he talked with Preferred Building Systems, and Keene State was big on sustainability, the Go Green movement, and so we knew about it, and I did an interview 11 years ago now at that point.
Wow.
And then it was the first job I interviewed at, and then just landed, and it stuck from there.
And you've been here ever since?
Yep.
Really cool. And you're now design manager, which is exciting. Talk about your team. Who makes up your team?
We segment the work, so we have drafters who do the preliminary designs. We get napkin sketches in, they come in through the sales team and the project managers. And then, so we have a couple drafters who focus on building more of the pretty picture, and then once those start to develop, we have other people on the team who start pushing them through the engineering and getting approvals on them and getting them out, like Randy was saying, out to the third-party approvals. And then, you know, there's just a lot of, we got to run structure on them, we got to design them and get them ready to go out on the floor to get built.
So there's also so much of the technical side of this. Talk about that, because obviously there's the structure, but then plumbing, electricity, all that you have to think about when you design.
Yeah, I mean, so back to your question where you were talking about what we get in and the different people in the department. So we'll get in from the sales team down here a project. It could be a napkin sketch, or it could be a full-blown set of prints that maybe an architect drew up, but we still have to design it into our system here using our programs here so that we can make it modular friendly. So it'll come in and we'll develop a shell package more or less of the picture. We'll get the windows to look nice, the doors, porches, overhangs, the general look of the house, and then as that develops more through a revision process with the customer, we'll start to work in the mechanical and the electrical and the plumbing and how the lights are going to look, and everything you would imagine on when you're building a house on site, it's happening here. And then you'll start to work in the engineering and the actual structure and make sure that all applies, and then all those systems come together on the floor when they build it. And then once it gets there on site, you know, you have your ceilings in, your kitchens in, your lights in, everything you'd expect to see in a finished room.
Yep.
As long as it's part of a box.
Yes, and puzzle pieces together,
and
right?
it all comes together as like a jigsaw puzzle, but
Great.
Then it looks like a full house at the end of the day. So we have 6 people now who, and myself would be 7, who just take it from start to finish when it gets submitted to us from the team downstairs here.
Amazing. And how many projects at a time are you working on?
It varies, you know. Right now, we're working anywhere from 6 to 12.
Wow.
You know, if we're getting real busy, it could be upwards of 15 different projects that are bouncing around, municipal jobs, residential jobs, commercial jobs,
Is there a busy time of year versus a non-busy time of year?
Yeah, the season where they can, you know, builders can break ground and get foundations going before things freeze up. So the hot weather is more the busy time.
Interesting.
Yep.
Talk about that process you were towards the end, which I think is really interesting, and you're going to be able to tell us more about it. But there's internal quality control to make sure that it's ready to go, but then there's also an outside source that you need to bring in, and that's really fascinating.
Yeah, you know, if you're building a house on site, you have a building inspector, so they can come and inspect the work. But we don't have that, right? Because we ship all over New England.
Right.
So we have to go to a third-party approval agency, and you can basically just think of it as a building full of building inspectors that are reviewing our product and making sure that we're building. And then they send an inspector here to the official building inspector. They send them here to review the product here and make sure we're complying with code, building practice, proper building practice through code. All the engineering we had done, making sure they're doing all that. That we're building to that engineering.
Sure.
So that is our third-party inspection agency. We send all our product out to them, and they'll put a final stamp of approval on it saying this complies as far as what it looks like on paper, and then they'll send the inspector here to make sure that we're building to what they stamped.
And how often do you get to see something on paper and then go physically walk through it as a,
Every
as a
day.
structure?
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, as soon as they're building something, we can go out there every day and start looking through it.
And then how often do you get to see it with furniture and a family that lives there?
No,
Not that often.
Yeah, you'd have to go to the site to see
Yeah.
that. And we go to sets. We'll go to
Sure.
sets occasionally where they're setting it. But then there's even a little bit of time after that where the builder is buttoning up the project and fine-tuning the project. So for the actual turnkey for the family to move into. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yep.
Very fascinating, interesting job. Thank you so much for giving me the lowdown.
Yeah, definitely.
La Valley's Preferred Building Systems is just one of the many ways that they can help you with any building project, from constructing a house to building a deck to paint to the nuts and bolts for any project. Next up is Dan Wolf, the New Hampshire House representative from Newbury. Please stay with us as we represent the businesses that stay involved with Yankee Chronicle and keep us coming to you.
This program is supported by the Innertown Record, your weekly hometown community newspaper covering the Kearsarge-Sunapee Sunshine region of New Hampshire. The Innertown Record.